I walked out of my son's house one chilly November morning, my scarf tight around my neck, my bag heavy on my shoulder. The air smelled of frost and pine, and the street was quiet, no one waving goodbye. Christmas lights already twinkled on their porch, but I felt like a stranger in their glow. They didn't push me out, but they didn't beg me to stay either. All my life, I scraped and saved for my kids, every dime, every late shift at the diner. I thought love was measured in what you gave up. But one question, so simple it stung, made me see I wasn't a mother to them, just a number they could count on. So I left, started over in a way no one saw coming. This is my story, and I hope you'll hear me out. My name is Evelyn Carter. I was 67, living alone in a small brick house just outside Burlington, Vermont. The house was old, with creaky floors and a furnace that groaned like it was tired of winter. It was mine, though paid off after years of careful budgeting. My husband, Tom, had been gone for 6 years, taken by a heart attack one quiet Sunday. I still saw him in the worn armchair by the window, where he'd read his fishing magazines. Sometimes I'd talk to him, silly as it sounds, while I dusted the shelves or watered the geraniums he'd planted. My days were simple. I'd wake at dawn, when the sky was still gray, make a pot of tea, and sit on the porch with my tabby, Muffin, curled up beside me. The Burlington Free Press still came every morning, and I'd read it cover to cover, sipping tea, listening to the birds. The neighborhood was quiet, just the hum of a lawnmower or a car passing by. I liked it that way. People asked if I got lonely, but I called it my own kind of peace. I didn't need chatter to fill the silence. Still, I missed the sound of family, the way it used to be when my son Michael was small, his laughter bouncing off the walls. Michael lived in Portland, Maine, now a 4-hour drive if the roads were clear. He was married to Sarah, and they had 2 kids, Lily and Noah. Sweet kids, always sending me drawings in the mail, though the glitter stuck to my rugs for weeks. Michael managed a hardware store, a steady job that kept him busy. I was proud of him, but his visits were rare. The last time I felt his arms around me, really felt them, was at Tom's funeral. Now it was mostly texts, quick ones. "Hey Mom, you okay?" I'd reply, "Doing fine honey," and mean it mostly. But there was an ache, like a bruise you don't notice until you press it. I never told Michael about my money. After 35 years as a bookkeeper for a local furniture store, I retired with a pension of $3,000 a month. With my savings, I had about $30,000 tucked away. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough for a woman who mended her own clothes and stretched a pot of chili for days. I told Michael I got $1,000 from Social Security, nothing more. I didn't like hiding the truth, but I called it a careful choice. It started when he asked, "You managing okay, Mom?" Over coffee one day. I said, "Just getting by." And he nodded, like it was enough. But his eyes lingered, like he was adding numbers in his head. My neighbor, Clara, was the one who put the thought in my mind. She was 72, sharp as ever, always tending her rose bushes. One afternoon, she leaned over the fence, her gloves caked with dirt, and said, "Evelyn, if your kids know you've got money, they'll start planning their lives around it. Trust me." I brushed it off at first, thought she was just grumpy from too many years alone. But her words stuck, like a splinter you can't pull out. Every time Michael called, asking, "You sure you're okay out there?" I heard Clara's warning. I loved my son, but love didn't mean I was blind. I'd seen friends give their savings to kids for houses or businesses, only to end up pinching pennies, skipping doctor visits to save a buck. I didn't want that for us. I didn't want Michael to see me as a bank, or worse, a burden. So I kept my finances quiet, paid my bills on time, and lived simply. There was strength in that, a kind of freedom I hadn't expected. But some nights, when the house was too still, I wondered if I was wrong to hide it. If I couldn't trust my own son, who could I trust? I'd ask myself that while folding towels or stirring soup, the question heavy as the steam rising from the pot. Then I'd remember my friend Ruth, who gave her daughter $15,000 for a car, only to get a card on Mother's Day, no visit. Or Margaret, who moved in with her son and ended up cooking and cleaning until her back gave out. I didn't want our love to become a ledger, balanced by what I could give. One crisp fall day, I was raking leaves in the yard, the air sharp with the smell of earth. I heard tires on the gravel drive and looked up, expecting the mailman. Instead, it was Michael's blue pickup, dust swirling around it. Before I could drop the rake, Lily and Noah burst out, running toward me, their voices high and bright. "Grandma! Grandma!" they shouted, their sneakers kicking up dirt. I knelt, arms open, catching their warmth, their sticky hands grabbing mine. My heart felt full, like it hadn't in months. Michael and Sarah stepped out next, him carrying a backpack, her holding a grocery bag. Sarah's smile was polite, but her eyes scanned the house, the peeling paint on the porch, the cracked step. "Still the same old place," Michael said, half laughing, half something else. I didn't mind. My family was here, even if just for a day. I'd have scrubbed the floors with a toothbrush to keep them longer. In the kitchen, I moved fast, pulling out pans, slicing bread, setting out the chicken stew I'd made the day before. The kids chattered about school, Lily showing me a drawing of a horse, Noah spilling crumbs on the table. I laughed, refilled their lemonade, and let the moment wrap around me like a warm blanket. Sarah ate quietly, her fork moving slow. Michael talked about work, the store, the long hours. Then, as I spooned more stew into Noah's bowl, he leaned back, wiped his mouth, and said, "So Mom, how's the Social Security treating you these days?" His voice was light, like he was asking about the weather. But something in his tone, a little too even, made my hand pause over the ladle. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I smiled, habit taking over. "Oh, about 1,000 a month," I said. "Enough for the basics." He nodded, eyes on his plate. Sarah glanced at him, quick and sharp, then looked away. That glance, so small, hit me like a stone. It wasn't just a question. It was a door creaking open, one I wasn't sure I wanted to walk through. I changed the subject, asked Lily about her horse camp, but the warmth of the day felt dimmer, like a cloud passing over the sun. That night, after Michael and his family left, I sat at my kitchen table, the house too quiet again. The stew pot was still on the counter, half empty, the kids' crumbs scattered like tiny reminders of their visit. Muffin curled up on the chair next to me, purring softly, but it didn't ease the knot in my chest. Michael's question about my Social Security kept circling in my mind, like a song I couldn't shake. Why did he ask? Was it just small talk, or was there something more? I sipped my tea, now cold, and stared at the wall where Tom's old fishing rod hung, gathering dust. I wanted to believe Michael was just checking on me. But Sarah's sharp glance, the way it cut across the table, felt like a warning. I pushed the thought away, told myself I was being silly, but it clung to me like damp air. The next morning, I woke early, the sky outside my window a soft pink. I pulled on my sweater, the one Tom used to tease me about because it was fraying at the cuffs, and went to the garden. The soil was cool under my fingers as I pulled weeds, the smell of earth grounding me. I needed routine to keep my thoughts from spiraling. Clara was out too, clipping her roses across the fence. "They came by yesterday, didn't they?" she called, her voice carrying over the morning quiet. I nodded, brushing dirt off my hands. "Yeah, just a quick visit." She raised an eyebrow, leaning on her clippers. "Quick, huh? That's how it starts. Next thing, they're asking for your bank balance." I laughed, but it came out weak. "Michael's not like that," I said, more to myself than her. Clara just shrugged, her eyes saying she'd seen this story before. I went back to weeding, but her words dug into me. Was I wrong about my own son? I loved him, loved the boy who used to build forts out of couch cushions, who'd cry if I didn't read him 2 bedtime stories. But that boy was gone, replaced by a man with a life I barely knew. Back inside, I washed my hands, the water stinging a cut I hadn't noticed. The phone rang, and my heart jumped, hoping it was Michael, maybe calling to say thanks for the stew. It was Ruth, my friend from church, her voice bright as always. "Evelyn, you coming to the bake sale Sunday? We need your lemon bars." I smiled, picturing her bustling around the church hall, her apron dusted with flour. "I'll be there," I said, but my voice sounded flat. Ruth caught it. "You okay? You sound off." I hesitated, then told her about Michael's visit, his question, Sarah's glance. Ruth was quiet for a moment, then said, "Kids change when money's involved. My daughter asked me for a loan last year. Haven't heard from her since I said no." Her words hit hard, like a door slamming shut. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there, staring at the phone. Was that what was happening? Was Michael counting my worth in dollars? I shook my head, trying to push the thought away, but it wouldn't leave. A few days later, I drove to the grocery store, the radio playing some old song Tom loved. The parking lot was busy, people rushing with carts, their faces set against the cold. Inside, I grabbed milk, bread, and a few apples, keeping my list short. At the checkout, I saw Margaret, another friend, bagging groceries to earn extra cash. Her hands moved slow, her shoulders hunched. "Hey Evelyn," she said, her smile tired. "How's Michael?" I forced a smile. "He's good. Visited last week." She nodded, but her eyes were distant. "My son's too busy for me these days. Moved in with him for a bit, thought it'd bring us closer. Ended up being his maid." Her laugh was bitter, and it stayed with me as I drove home. That night, I pulled out my journal, the one Tom gave me years ago, its leather cover soft from use. I wrote about Michael's visit. The way his question felt like a pebble in my shoe, small but impossible to ignore. I wrote about Clara's warning, Ruth's story, Margaret's tired eyes. The words spilled out, messy and raw, like I was trying to make sense of something that kept slipping away. I didn't want to believe Michael was like that, but doubt was creeping in, cold and heavy. The next week I got a text from Michael. "Hey Mom, can we come by this weekend? Kids miss you." My heart lifted, then sank. Was it really about the kids, or was something else coming? I texted back, "Sure, love to see you all," and spent the day cleaning, baking cookies, trying to focus on the joy of seeing Lily and Noah. When they arrived, the kids ran to me like before, their hugs warm and real. Sarah carried a casserole dish, her smile a little warmer this time. Michael looked tired, his eyes red, like he hadn't slept. We sat in the living room, the kids playing with Muffin on the rug. I asked about their drive, the weather, anything to keep things light. But then Michael leaned forward, his hands clasped tight. "Mom, you ever think about moving closer to us? You know, sell this place, get something smaller?" My stomach twisted. The house was all I had, the place where Tom and I built our life, where Michael grew up. "I like it here," I said, keeping my voice steady. "It's home." He nodded, but his jaw tightened, like he was holding something back. Sarah chimed in, "It's just you're out here alone, and it's a big house to maintain." Her voice was soft, but it felt rehearsed. I looked at Michael, waiting for him to say more, but he just stared at the floor. The air felt thick, like before a storm. I changed the subject, offered cookies, but the question hung there, unanswered. That night, after they left, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Michael's face, the way he avoided my eyes. Was he worried about me, or was he thinking about the house, the money it could bring? I got up, made tea, and sat by the window, the moonlight casting shadows on the lawn. Clara's roses glowed faintly across the fence, and I remembered her warning again. The next day, I called my lawyer, Ellen, a kind woman who'd helped with Tom's will. I didn't tell her everything, just asked about protecting my assets. She said, "Evelyn, you can set up a trust, keep things private. It's your money, your choice." Her words were steady, like a lifeline. I thanked her, said I'd think about it. But as I hung up, I felt a shift, like I was standing on the edge of something new. Michael's question, Sarah's glance, the house. They were pieces of a puzzle I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. I looked at Tom's fishing rod, touched its handle and whispered, "What do I do, Tom?" The silence answered, but it wasn't empty. It was mine. The moonlight faded as morning crept in, but I stayed by the window, my tea cold in the mug. Michael's words about selling the house echoed in my head, mixing with Sarah's soft push and Clara's warning. I felt like I was holding a puzzle with missing pieces, trying to see the picture. Muffin jumped onto my lap, her purr a small comfort, but it wasn't enough to quiet the ache. I wanted to trust Michael, to believe he cared about me, not my house or my money. But doubt was growing, like weeds in my garden, hard to pull out. I stood, my knees stiff, and started my day, hoping routine would clear my mind. I swept the porch, the broom scratching against the wood, and watched the neighborhood wake up. Kids rode bikes down the street, their laughter sharp in the crisp air. It reminded me of Michael at that age, racing his bike, calling, "Look, Mom, no hands." I smiled, but it hurt, like pressing on a bruise. By noon, I was in the kitchen, kneading dough for bread, my hands moving on their own. The phone buzzed, and I wiped flour on my apron, heart skipping when I saw Michael's name. "Hey, Mom," he said, his voice tired but warm. "Just checking in. You okay after yesterday?" I leaned against the counter, the phone cool against my ear. "I'm fine, honey. Just baking. You sound worn out." He sighed, a heavy sound. "Yeah, work's crazy. And bills pile up. Kids need new shoes, cars acting up." I nodded, even though he couldn't see. "That's life, I guess. You managing?" There was a pause, long enough to make my stomach tighten. "We're getting by," he said finally. "But, Mom, I was serious about the house. It's a lot for you to handle alone. You could move near us, be closer to the kids." My fingers gripped the phone. "This is my home, Michael. Your dad and I built it. You grew up here." He was quiet, then said, "I know, but things change. We just want what's best for you." His voice was soft, but it felt like a push, gentle but firm. I wanted to ask what he really meant, but the words stuck in my throat. "I'll think about it," I said, and we hung up, the silence louder than before. I went back to the dough, punching it harder than I needed to, flour dusting the air. That afternoon, Clara stopped by, a basket of apples from her tree in her hands. "Thought you could use these for a pie," she said, setting them on the table. Her eyes scanned my face. "You look like you're carrying the world, Evelyn. What's wrong?" I poured us coffee, the mugs warm in our hands, and told her about Michael's call, his talk about the house. Clara sipped her coffee, her lips tight. "He's testing the water," she said. "Next, he'll ask for something bigger." My nephew did the same. Asked about my savings, then wanted a loan for his business. Never saw a dime back. Her words stung, but I couldn't argue. "He's my son," I said weakly. "He wouldn't do that." Clara patted my hand. "Love makes us blind, but you're not stupid. Keep your eyes open." She left, and I sat there, the apples gleaming on the table, their sweetness mocking my mood. I decided to visit Ruth at the church bake sale, needing a distraction. The hall was buzzing, tables piled with cookies and cakes, kids running between them. Ruth hugged me, her apron dusted with sugar. "Your lemon bars sold out in an hour," she said, grinning. "You're a star." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. We stepped outside for air, the cold biting my cheeks. "Ruth," I said, my voice low. "Did your daughter ever ask about your money before that loan?" She looked at me, her face softening. "All the time. Little questions, like how I paid for things, what I had saved." I thought she was just curious. Then she asked for $15,000, said it was for a fresh start. I gave it and she stopped calling. Her voice cracked, and she looked away, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my heart heavy. She squeezed my arm. "Just be careful, Evelyn. Love doesn't mean you owe them everything." Back home, I found a letter in the mailbox, not a bill or junk mail, but a handwritten note from Sarah. My hands shook as I opened it. "Dear Evelyn," it read. "We love you and worry about you out there alone. Michael didn't mean to upset you about the house. We just want you safe and close. Maybe we can talk more soon. Love, Sarah." I read it twice, searching for truth between the lines. Was it kindness or a way to smooth things over? I tucked it in my journal, not sure what to believe. That evening, I was folding laundry when the phone rang again. It was Michael, his voice different this time, rushed. "Mom, I need to ask you something. It's important." My heart pounded, like it knew what was coming. "What is it?" I said, sitting down, the towel still in my hands. "We're in a tight spot," he said. "The store's struggling, and we might lose the house if we don't catch up on payments. I hate asking, but could you help us out? Just a loan, I swear we'll pay it back." The room spun, his words hitting like a wave. I saw Clara's face, Ruth's tears, Margaret's tired hands. "How much?" I asked, my voice barely mine. "Maybe $10,000, he said, too quick, like he'd planned it. I closed my eyes, picturing my savings, the years I worked for it, the life I'd built. "Michael," I said, "I don't have that kind of money. My pension's only $1,000 a month. You know that." He went quiet, then said, "Right. I just thought, Maybe you had something saved. His voice was flat, like I'd let him down. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it, but not for what he thought. We hung up, and I sat there, the towel crumpled in my lap. I felt like I'd dodged something, but it didn't feel like a win. The next morning, I went to the bank, my hands shaky as I filled out forms. I moved $20,000 into a trust, like Ellen suggested, locking it away. It wasn't just about the money. It was about me, about choosing who I was beyond what I could give. I drove home, the sky gray, and saw Michael's truck in my driveway. He was on the porch, alone, his face hard. Mom, he said as I got out. We need to talk. Now. His voice was sharp, like a stranger's, and my heart sank, knowing this was far from over. I stood frozen by my car, keys digging into my palm, as Michael stared at me from the porch. His face was tight, his eyes narrow, not like the boy I'd raised but someone I barely recognized. The air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. Muffin peeked out from the window, her tail flicking, but even she seemed to sense the storm coming. I walked up the steps, my legs shaky, and forced a smile. Michael, what's this about? You didn't say you were coming. He crossed his arms, leaning against the railing. Yeah, well, I didn't plan to. But after our call, I had to see you. His voice was sharp, cutting through the quiet morning. I unlocked the door, my hands fumbling. Come in then. Let's talk. Inside, the house smelled of fresh bread, but it didn't feel warm anymore. I set my keys on the counter, avoiding his eyes. Coffee? I asked, needing something to do. No, he said, sitting at the table, his chair scraping the floor. Mom, why'd you lie to me? My heart stopped, like it forgot how to beat. I turned, gripping the counter. What do you mean? He leaned forward, his hands flat on the table. The money, Mom. I know you've got more than $1,000 a month. Sarah checked online, said pensions for bookkeepers like you are way higher. Why do you say you're scraping by? His words hit like a slap, and I felt my face burn. Sarah checking on me? I sank into a chair, my hands trembling. Michael, that's my business. I worked hard for what I have. He shook his head, his jaw tight. Your business? We're family, Mom. I'm drowning here, and you're sitting on a pile of cash, acting poor. Do you know how that feels? His voice cracked, and for a second, I saw pain in his eyes, not just anger. But it didn't soften the sting. I'm not acting, I said, my voice low. I live simple because I choose to. And I didn't raise you to count my money. He laughed, a bitter sound. Raise me? You and Dad were always working, saving every penny. For what? To hide it from your own son? I need help, Mom. $10,000 could save our house. I looked at him, really looked, and saw a man stretched thin, but also something else. Entitlement, like I owed him my life's work. I took a breath, steadying myself. Michael, I told you I don't have that kind of money to give. I'm sorry you're struggling, but you've got to find another way. He stood, his chair tipping back, almost falling. Another way? You think I haven't tried? You're selfish, Mom. Dad would have helped me. That cut deep, like a knife twisting. I stood too, my voice shaking. Don't you dare bring your father into this. He worked himself sick to give us this house, this life. He'd be ashamed to hear you talk like this. Michael's face went red, his hands clenched. Ashamed? I'm trying to keep my family together, and you're hoarding money you don't even need. The room felt too small, his words echoing off the walls. I pointed to the door, my arm trembling. Get out, Michael. I won't be yelled at in my own home. He stared at me, like he didn't know me, then grabbed his jacket and stormed out. The door slamming so hard the windows rattled. I sank back into the chair, my heart pounding, tears burning my eyes. Muffin jumped onto the table, nudging my hand, but I couldn't move. I'd never fought with Michael like that, never felt so far from him. Was this my fault? Had I pushed him away by hiding the truth? I pulled out my journal, the pages crinkling under my fingers, and wrote, the pen shaking. He thinks I'm selfish. Maybe I am. But I'm scared, Tom. Scared he doesn't love me, just what I can give. The words blurred as tears fell, smudging the ink. I closed the journal, my chest tight, and looked at Tom's fishing rod on the wall. What did I do wrong? I whispered. but the silence gave no answers. Later, I walked to Clara's, needing someone to talk to. She was in her garden, her hat shading her face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, brushing dirt off her hands. I told her everything: Michael's accusations, Sarah's snooping, the fight. Clara listened, her face soft but firm. "Evelyn, he's not mad because you lied. He's mad because he can't get what he wants. You did right, protecting yourself." I wiped my eyes, her words a small comfort. "But he's my son. I should help him." She shook her head. "You raised him. That's enough. He's a grown man, not your burden." We sat on her porch, sipping lemonade, the tartness sharp on my tongue. Clara's words stayed with me, but so did Michael's pain, his voice breaking when he said he was drowning. That evening, I got a call from Sarah. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Evelyn, I'm sorry about Michael. He's stressed, not himself. Can we talk, just us? Maybe tomorrow?" I hesitated, my hand tight on the phone. "Why, Sarah? What's this about?" She sighed. "I just want to fix things. Please." I agreed, but unease settled in my stomach, like I'd swallowed something sour. The next morning, Sarah arrived alone, her face pale, her eyes red like she'd been crying. We sat in the living room, Muffin curled up on the couch between us. "Evelyn," she started, her hands twisting in her lap. "Michael's in trouble. The store's failing, and we're behind on everything. He didn't want to tell you, but we might lose the kids' home." Her voice broke, and tears spilled down her cheeks. I felt a pang, picturing Lily and Noah, their little faces. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "But why are you here, Sarah?" She looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Because you're family. If you have anything, even a little, it could help. Michael's too proud to ask again, but I'm not." Her words were soft, but they felt like a trap, pulling me in. I leaned back, my heart racing. "Sarah, I told Michael the truth. My pension's $1,000. I can't give what I don't have." She stared at me, then nodded, wiping her face. "Okay. I just had to try. For the kids." She stood, grabbing her purse, and left without another word. The door clicked shut, and I felt like I'd failed, like I'd turned my back on my own blood. That night, I couldn't sleep, Michael's anger and Sarah's tears replaying in my mind. I got up, made tea, and sat at the table, staring at the apples Clara gave me, still untouched. I thought about calling Ellen, my lawyer, to undo the trust, to give Michael the money. But then I remembered Ruth's empty mailbox, Margaret's tired hands, Clara's warning. I opened my journal and wrote, "I want to help them, but not like this. Not when it feels like I'm buying their love." The next day a letter came, not from Sarah, but from Michael. It was short, scrawled in his messy handwriting. "Mom, I'm sorry for yelling. I was wrong. Can we start over?" I read it over and over, hope flickering, but doubt lingered, like a shadow I couldn't shake. I looked out the window, saw Clara's roses swaying in the wind, and wondered if I could ever trust him again. I held Michael's letter in my hands, the paper crinkled from reading it so many times. His words, "Can we start over?" felt like a lifeline, but they also scared me. I wanted to believe him, to see the boy who'd cling to me after a bad dream. But his anger on the porch, Sarah's tears, and their talk of money left me raw, like a wound that wouldn't heal. I set the letter on the kitchen table, next to the apples still waiting for a pie, and looked out at the gray sky. The wind rattled the windows, and Muffin stretched on the sill, her eyes half closed. I wished I could be that calm, but my heart was a mess, torn between love and fear. I poured coffee, the steam curling up, and sat down trying to figure out what to do. The phone stayed quiet, no calls from Michael or Sarah, and the silence felt heavy, like it was waiting for me to decide. I thought about calling him, saying yes, let's start over, but Clara's voice echoed in my head. "Keep your eyes open." I couldn't shake the feeling that his apology was just a step toward asking for more. That afternoon, I went to the garden, needing to keep my hands busy. The soil was cold, the last of the carrots ready to pull. As I worked, Clara came over, her scarf bright against the dull day. "You're quiet today," she said, leaning on the fence. "That boy still on your mind?" I nodded, brushing dirt off a carrot. "He wrote me, said he's sorry. Wants to start over." Clara's eyes narrowed. Sorry's easy to say. What's he doing to show it? I looked at her, my hands still. Nothing yet. Just the letter. She snorted, crossing her arms. Words are cheap, Evelyn. My nephew wrote me letters too, full of promises. Then he cleaned out my savings for his big idea. Watch yourself. Her words stung, but they felt true, like a mirror I didn't want to look into. He's my son, I said, my voice small. Clara softened, stepping closer. I know. And you love him. But love doesn't mean giving everything. You're worth more than your bank account. She squeezed my shoulder and went back to her house, leaving me with the carrots and my thoughts. Back inside, I washed the dirt off my hands, the water warm but not comforting. I looked at Tom's fishing rod, touched its handle, and whispered, Did I fail him, Tom? Did I make him this way? The silence answered, same as always, but it felt heavier now. I pulled out my journal, the pages full of my doubts, and wrote, I want to trust Michael, but I'm scared. Scared he sees me as a way out, not a mother. The pen shook, and a tear hit the page, spreading the ink like a stain. The next day, I drove to the church, needing to feel something bigger than my worry. The parking lot was full, families spilling out, kids chasing each other. Ruth was there, setting up chairs for the community lunch. She waved me over, her smile warm. Evelyn, grab a stack of plates, will you? I helped, the clatter of dishes grounding me. As we worked, I told her about Michael's letter, Sarah's visit, the fight. Her face went still, her hands pausing on a napkin. Oh, honey, she said, pulling me into a hug. You're carrying too much. We sat on a bench outside, the air cold but fresh. What do I do, Ruth? I asked, my voice breaking. He's my son, but I don't know him anymore. She took my hand, her fingers rough from years of work. You love him, but you don't owe him your life. I learned that the hard way. My daughter took my money, but worse, she took my trust. Don't let that happen to you. Her eyes were wet, and I felt my own tears spill. But what if he needs me? I whispered. Ruth shook her head. He needs to stand on his own. You've given him enough. We sat there, the sounds of laughter from the church hall drifting over, and I felt a little less alone. That evening, I was ironing curtains, the steam hissing, when the phone rang. It was Lily, her voice high and sweet. Grandma, I miss you. When can we come over? My heart melted, picturing her gap-toothed smile. Soon, baby, I said, smiling. How's school? She chattered about her teacher, a new book, then said, Daddy's sad. He says we might move. I don't want to leave my friends. Her voice wobbled, and I felt a pang, sharp and deep. Oh, sweetie, I'm sorry. Daddy's working hard, okay? You'll be fine. I kept my voice steady, but inside, I was shaking. After we hung up, I sat on the couch, muffin in my lap, and thought about Lily's words. Move. Was Michael in worse trouble than he'd said? I wanted to call him, ask what was happening, but fear stopped me. What if he asked for money again? The next morning, I got a text from Michael. Mom, can I come by alone? Need to talk. No fighting, I promise. My fingers hovered over the phone, unsure. I typed, okay, tomorrow, and hit send before I could change my mind. All day, I cleaned, baked, tried to keep busy, but my stomach was in knots. When Michael arrived, he looked worn out, his shoulders slumped, his eyes red. We sat in the kitchen, coffee between us, the clock ticking loud. Mom, he started, his voice low. I messed up. I shouldn't have yelled, shouldn't have asked for money like that. I'm just scared. We're losing everything. His hands shook, and he looked at me, like he was waiting for me to fix it. I took a breath, my heart aching but firm. Michael, I love you. But I can't give you money I don't have. You've got to find a way through this. He nodded, his eyes on the table. I know. I just thought, you always had an answer when I was a kid. His voice broke, and I saw the boy he used to be, scared and small. I reached for his hand, tears in my eyes. I'm still your mom, but I'm not your bank. You're strong, honey. You'll figure it out. He squeezed my hand, then let go, standing up. I'm trying, Mom. I'll call you soon. He left, the door closing softly this time. But I felt like I'd lost something anyway. That night, I walked to the mailbox, the stars bright above. There was a card from Noah, a messy drawing of a house with a heart. "Love you, Grandma," it said. I held it close, tears falling, and went inside. I opened my journal and wrote, "I love them so much, but I'm learning to love me too. Is that wrong?" The next day, Clara stopped by, saw the card on the table. "From the grandkids?" she asked, smiling. I nodded, my throat tight. "They're the best part of this mess." She sat down, her eyes kind. "You're doing right, Evelyn. You're teaching them what matters. Not money but heart." Her words felt like a hug, and I clung to them, hoping she was right. Clara's words stayed with me as I sat in the kitchen, Noah's card still on the table, its heart drawing bright against the wood. The house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and Muffin's soft snores from the couch. I wanted to believe I was doing right, teaching Michael what mattered, but his sad eyes, his shaking hands, haunted me. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, balancing love for my son with love for myself. The coffee pot was still warm, so I poured a cup, the steam curling like a memory of simpler days. Outside, the wind tossed leaves across the yard, and I thought of Tom, how he'd sit with me on nights like this saying, "Ev, we'll figure it out." I missed his steadiness, his laugh. Now it was just me, figuring out a mess I didn't make. The phone rang, startling me, and I spilled coffee on my hand, the burn sharp. It was Ruth, her voice warm but worried. "Evelyn, you okay? You didn't look right at church." I wiped my hand, forcing a smile she couldn't see. "I'm okay, just dealing with Michael. He came by, apologized, but it's complicated." Ruth sighed long and heavy. "Complicated's one way to put it. Want to talk? I'm at the diner, grabbing pie. Come join me." I hesitated, glancing at Noah's card. "All right," I said. "Give me 20 minutes. I grabbed my coat, the one with the loose button Tom always meant to fix, and drove to the diner, the streetlights glowing soft in the dusk. The diner smelled of grease and syrup, its booths worn but cozy. Ruth waved from a corner, a slice of apple pie in front of her. I slid in, ordered coffee, and told her about Michael's visit, his apology, Lily's call about moving. Ruth listened, her fork paused. "Sounds like he's hurting," she said. "But hurt doesn't give him the right to lean on you like that." I nodded, stirring my coffee. "I know. But when he said he thought I always had the answers, it broke my heart. He's my boy, Ruth." Her eyes softened. "He's a man now, Evelyn. And you're not his fix. You gave him a good start, more than most. What's he doing with it?" I looked at my hands, the lines etched deep from years of work. "I don't know. He says the store's failing. They might lose the house. I want to help, but not by giving up everything I've got." Ruth reached across, squeezing my hand. "You're learning, honey. It's hard, but it's right. You're more than a checkbook." Her words felt like a warm blanket, but they didn't ease the ache. Back home, I found a voicemail from Sarah. "Evelyn, it's me. Can we talk again? I know things got tense, but I want to make it right. Call me." Her voice sounded tired, almost desperate. I stared at the phone, unsure if I should call back. Instead, I went to my journal, the pages thick with my thoughts. I wrote, "I'm tired of being pulled apart. I love them, but I'm not their answer. Am I wrong to hold on to what's mine?" The words felt heavy, like stones I'd been carrying too long. The next morning, I was watering the geraniums when Clara knocked, her face serious. "Got a minute?" she asked, holding a thermos of tea. We sat on the porch, the air cool, the tea warm in my hands. "I saw Michael's truck in town yesterday," she said. "He was at the bank, looked upset. You know anything about that?" My stomach dropped. "No," I said, setting the cup down. "He didn't say anything." Clara frowned. "Be careful, Evelyn. People get funny when they're desperate." Her words sent a chill through me, and I remembered Sarah's voicemail, her soft plea. Was something bigger going on? That afternoon, I called Sarah, my hands sweaty on the phone. "Hey, Sarah," I said when she answered. "What's going on?" She was quiet for a second, then said, "I just want things to be okay between us. Michael's struggling, and I know he upset you. Can I come by tomorrow? Just to talk, I promise." Her voice was shaky, like she was holding back tears. "Okay," I said, my throat tight. "But no more talk about money, Sarah. I mean it." She agreed, and we hung up, but I felt uneasy, like I was waiting for a storm. That evening, I was folding laundry when Lily called, her voice bright but wobbly. "Grandma, are you mad at Daddy?" My heart sank, picturing her big eyes. "No, sweetie," I said, sitting on the couch. "We just had a tough talk. Grown-up stuff." She sniffled. "He's always sad now. And Mommy cries when she thinks I'm asleep." I gripped the phone, tears stinging my eyes. "Oh, Lily, I'm sorry. You're such a sweet girl. I love you, okay?" She whispered, "Love you too," and hung up, leaving me hollow. I couldn't stop picturing her, curled up, worried about her parents. I wanted to fix it, to make their world right again, but I knew I couldn't, not the way they wanted. The next day, Sarah came over, her face pale, her hands twisting a scarf. We sat in the living room, muffin between us, the clock ticking loud. "Evelyn," she started, her voice low. "I know you said no money talk, but hear me out. Michael's not telling you everything. The store's closing. We're losing the house in a month if we don't pay up." Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked at me, pleading. "I'm not asking for a handout. Just a loan. For Lily and Noah." Her words hit hard, and I saw their faces, their drawings, their hugs. "Sarah," I said, my voice shaking. "I told you, I don't have that kind of money. My pension's $1,000. That's it." She stared at me, then stood, her scarf falling to the floor. "I don't believe you," she said, her voice sharp. "You've got this house savings something. You're just holding out on us." I stood too, anger rising. "This is my home, Sarah. I don't owe you my life." She grabbed her scarf, her face red. "Fine. Keep your money. But don't expect to see the kids if you're going to be like this." She stormed out, the door slamming. And I sank onto the couch, tears streaming. Muffin nudged my hand, but I felt like the world had cracked open. That night, I sat by the window, Noah's card in my lap, and cried for the family I thought I had. I opened my journal and wrote, "They want everything, but I'm not nothing. I'm worth more than what I can give." The next morning, a knock woke me. It was Clara, her face grim. "Evelyn, Michael was at the bank again. I heard he's asking about loans, using your house as collateral. You need to check on that." My heart stopped, fear and betrayal mixing like poison. I grabbed my keys, my hands shaking, and headed to the bank, not knowing what I'd find but knowing it would change everything. Clara's warning about Michael at the bank hit me like a cold wind, stealing my breath. I stood on the porch, her thermos of tea still in my hand, picturing my son, my boy, sneaking into my life like a thief. The yard was quiet, leaves skittering across the grass, but inside, I was a storm of hurt and anger. Muffin scratched at the door, wanting in, and I let her, needing her warmth. I set the thermos down, my hands shaky, and grabbed my keys. "I'm going to the bank," I told Clara, my voice tight. She nodded, her eyes fierce. "Find out the truth, Evelyn. You deserve it." I drove, the Burlington streets gray under a heavy sky, my heart pounding like a drum. The bank was busy, people in line, the air thick with coffee and paper. I went to Jenny, the teller, her smile fading when she saw my face. "Mrs. Carter, you okay?" she asked, leaning close. I took a breath, my voice low. "Someone's asking about my account, maybe my house. I need to know who." Jenny's fingers flew over her keyboard, her face serious. "There was an inquiry yesterday," she said, glancing up. "No name, but they asked about your property's value. They didn't have access, so we blocked it." My stomach twisted, like I'd been punched. "Was it my son, Michael?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Jenny shook her head. "I can't say, ma'am, but I'll flag your account. Nobody gets in without you." I signed papers for extra security, my hand trembling, and left, the cold air hitting my face like a slap. In the car I cried, tears hot on my cheeks, picturing Michael's face, his tired eyes, his promise to make things right. Was it all a lie? I drove home, the radio off, the silence loud with betrayal. Clara was waiting, her arms crossed. "Well?" she asked, following me inside. I sank into a chair, Muffin jumping into my lap. "Someone asked about my house's value," I said, my voice breaking. "They wouldn't say who, but it's got to be Michael." Clara sat, her face hard. He's crossing lines, Evelyn. You need to stop this now. I nodded, but my heart ached, like it was splitting in two. He's my son, I whispered. Clara leaned close, her voice soft but firm. And you're his mother, not his bank. Don't let him steal your life. Her words cut deep, and I clung to them, needing their strength. That evening, I called Michael, my hands sweaty on the phone. Did you go to the bank about my house? I asked, no hello, no softness. He went quiet, too long, then said, Mom, what? No, I didn't. His voice shook, like he was caught. Don't lie, I said, tears falling. Someone asked about my property. If it wasn't you, who? He sighed heavy. Okay, I asked a friend to check, just to see if we could borrow against it. I didn't think it'd hurt. I closed my eyes, pain washing over me. You went behind my back, Michael. That's not love. He was quiet, then said, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm desperate. We're losing everything. His voice broke, and I saw the boy who'd cry when his bike fell, but I couldn't soften. Come over tomorrow, I said. We're talking, no more secrets. He agreed, and we hung up, the silence heavy. I opened my journal, Noah's card beside it, and wrote, He betrayed me, but I'm still his mother. I'm fighting for us both. The words felt like a promise, raw and real. The next morning, I was pulling weeds in the garden, needing to keep busy, when Ruth called. Evelyn, I'm at the diner. You sound like you need pie. Come. I smiled, despite everything, and drove over, the diner's neon sign a warm glow. Ruth hugged me, her apron dusted with flour. Spill, she said, sliding a slice of cherry pie my way. I told her about the bank, Michael's lie, the confrontation coming. Her eyes were sad but strong. You're doing right calling him out, she said. But it'll hurt, Evelyn. Be ready. I nodded, the pie sweet but hard to swallow. I'm scared I'll lose him, I admitted. Ruth took my hand. You're finding you. That's worth it. Her words stayed with me, like a light in the fog. That afternoon, Michael arrived, his face pale, his eyes red. We sat in the kitchen, coffee between us, the clock ticking loud. Mom, he started, his voice low. I messed up. I shouldn't have checked on your house. I'm just scared. The store's gone, the house is next. His hands shook, and he looked at me, pleading. I need you. I took a breath, my heart aching but firm. Michael, I love you, but I lied about my pension. It's $3,000, not $1,000. It's mine for my life. I won't give it up. His face fell, shock turning to anger. You lied? While we're falling apart. He stood pacing. Lily's scared, Noah's asking why we're moving. You could save us. Tears stung my eyes, but I stood too. I raised you to stand up, not beg. I'm not your answer. He stared, tears falling. I thought you loved us. I reached for his hand, my voice soft. I do. That's why I'm saying no. You're stronger than this. He pulled away, grabbing his jacket. We're done, Mom. He left, the door slamming, and I sank to the floor, sobbing, Muffin nudging me. That night, I called Ellen, my voice raw. I want a will, I said. Charity gets most of it, not Michael. She agreed, and I felt a weight lift, like I was choosing me. The next day a package came, a photo of me and Michael, laughing years ago, with a note. I'm sorry, Mom. My heart jumped, hope and pain crashing. And I knew this wasn't over. I held the photo of me and Michael, his young face smiling under a baseball cap. The notes, I'm sorry, Mom, trembling in my hand. The kitchen was dark, just a lamp glowing, Muffin asleep on the chair. My heart pulled two ways. Hope from his words, pain from Sarah's call, saying I'd never see the kids again. I wanted to call Michael, ask what the photo meant, but fear stopped me. What if it was another trick? I set the photo down, my fingers brushing the frame, and felt tears burn. The house felt too big, too empty, like it was swallowing me whole. I opened my journal, the pages worn, and wrote. He sent a photo, an apology. But Sarah says I'm cut off. What's true? The pen scratched loud in the quiet. The next morning, I woke to frost on the windows, the air sharp. I made coffee, the smell grounding me, and stared at the photo, now on the table. Clara knocked, her scarf tight around her neck. You look awful, she said, stepping inside. What happened? I showed her the photo, told her about Sarah's call. She frowned, sitting down. Sounds like they're playing games, Evelyn. One pulls you in, the other pushes you out. I nodded, my throat tight. What do I do, Clara? I miss Lily and Noah so much. My voice broke, and she took my hand. You wait. Let them show who they are. You've done enough. Her words were firm, but they didn't ease the ache. That afternoon, I went to the church, needing something to hold on to. Ruth was there, arranging flowers. Evelyn, you're pale, she said, pulling me aside. Talk to me. I told her about the photo, Sarah's threat, my will. She hugged me, her hands smelling of lilies. You're strong, she said. Stronger than you know. Don't let them break you. I wanted to believe her, but doubt clung to me like damp air. Back home, the phone rang. It was Lily, her voice small. Grandma, why's Mommy mad at you? My heart cracked. Oh, sweetie, it's grown-up stuff. I love you, okay? She sniffled. I love you too. I made you a picture, but Mommy won't let me send it. Tears fell, and I gripped the phone. Keep it safe for me, all right? She whispered. Okay, and hung up. I sat there, shaking, picturing her hiding a drawing under her pillow. That evening, I was folding towels when Michael called. Mom, did you get the photo? He asked, his voice soft. I took a breath, steadying myself. Yes. What's it mean, Michael? He paused. I found it in a box, remembered how things used to be. I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk face to face? I hesitated, Sarah's words echoing. What about Sarah? She said I'm done with the kids. He sighed. She's upset, but I'll fix it. Please, Mom, let me come over. I closed my eyes, torn. All right. Tomorrow. We hung up, and I felt like I was stepping into a trap, but hope flickered anyway. The next day Michael arrived, alone, his face tired. We sat in the living room, coffee untouched. Mom, he said, leaning forward. I know I hurt you. The bank, the money. I was wrong. I just want my mom back. His eyes were wet, and I wanted to hug him, but I stayed still. Michael, you broke my trust. And Sarah's threat about the kids, that's not okay. He nodded, looking down. I know. I told her to back off. I'm trying to make this right. I searched his face, looking for truth. Then show me, not with words but actions. He met my eyes, nodding. I will. I promise. He left, and I felt lighter, but not sure. That night I wrote in my journal. He says he'll try. I want to believe him, but I'm guarding my heart. The next morning, a letter came from Sarah. Evelyn, I was wrong to say that about the kids. I'm sorry. Can we start over? I stared at it, hope and doubt tangling, knowing the next step would change everything. Sarah's letter lay on the kitchen table. Its words soft but heavy, like a promise I wasn't sure I could trust. Can we start over? She wrote. But after her threat about the kids, my heart was cautious, like a bird testing a branch. The morning light filtered through the curtains, catching dust in the air, and Muffin stretched on the rug, unaware of the storm in my chest. I sipped coffee, cold now, and touched the photo Michael sent, his young smile a memory of better days. I wanted to believe them both, to have my family back, but Clara's warnings, Ruth's stories, and my own broken trust held me back. I pulled on my sweater, the frayed one Tom loved, and stepped outside, needing air. The yard smelled of frost and leaves, and I knelt to pull weeds, the earth cool under my fingers. Clara was at her fence, clipping roses. You're out early, she said, eyeing me. That letter still eating at you? I nodded, standing, dirt on my hands. Sarah says she's sorry, wants to fix things. Michael too. But I don't know Clara. She set her clippers down, her face serious. People say sorry when they want something. What's changed since she yelled at you? I shook my head, no answer. Nothing, I admitted. Clara pointed at me. Then don't jump in blind. You're worth more than their promises. Her words hit hard, and I carried them back inside, heavy as the weeds in my bucket. That afternoon, I called Ruth, needing her calm. Can we meet? I asked, my voice tight. I'm at the library, helping with the book sale, she said. Come on over. I drove there, the Burlington streets quiet, the library warm with the smell of old books. Ruth was stacking novels, her glasses slipping. She hugged me, her sweater soft. "Talk, Evelyn," she said, pulling me to a corner. I told her about Sarah's letter, Michael's visit, Lily's call. "I want to trust them," I said. "But I'm scared it's another game." Ruth nodded, her eyes kind. "You've got a big heart, but it's been bruised. Trust takes time, not just words." I bit my lip, tears close. "What if I lose the kids forever?" She squeezed my hand. "You won't. Kids find a way. But you can't lose yourself." Her words felt like a light in the dark, and I hugged her, grateful. Back home, I was washing dishes when the phone rang. It was Sarah, her voice shaky. "Evelyn, thank you for giving us a chance. Can I come by with the kids tomorrow? They miss you." My heart lifted, picturing Lily and Noah, but doubt lingered. "Just the kids?" I asked. She paused. "And me? Michael's working." I gripped the sink, water dripping. "Okay, but Sarah, no more fighting. I mean it." She agreed, her voice soft, and we hung up. I dried my hands, my stomach twisting, unsure if I'd made the right choice. That evening, I opened my journal, Noah's card beside it, and wrote, "They're coming tomorrow. I want to believe them, but I'm ready to stand my ground." The words felt like armor, steadying me. The next morning, Sarah arrived with Lily and Noah, their laughter filling the yard as they ran to me. "Grandma," Lily shouted, hugging my legs, Noah tugging my hand. I knelt, their warmth melting my fears, their sticky fingers real and true. Sarah stood back, her smile hesitant. We went inside, the kids drawing at the table, crayons scattered. I poured juice, my eyes on Sarah. "So," I said, sitting, "what's this about starting over?" She looked down, twisting her ring. "I was wrong, Evelyn, saying you'd never see the kids. I was angry, scared. We're losing the house, and I took it out on you." Her voice cracked, and she wiped her eyes. I softened, but stayed firm. "I'm sorry you're hurting, but you can't blame me for your troubles." She nodded, tears falling. "I know. We need help, and I thought you were hiding money." I took a breath, my voice steady. "I told you the truth now. My pension's $3,000, but it's for me, my life. You need to respect that." Lily looked up, crayon pausing. "Are you fighting?" she asked, her voice small. I smiled, touching her hair. "No, sweetie, just talking." Sarah stood, her face pale. "I should go. I'll leave the kids for a bit, if that's okay." I nodded, surprised, and she left, the door clicking shut. The kids drew their chatter bright, but my mind was on Sarah's tears, her quick exit. Something felt off, like a shadow I couldn't see. That afternoon, Clara stopped by, saw the kids coloring. "They're a joy," she said, smiling. I told her about Sarah, her apology, her leaving. Clara's eyes narrowed. "She's up to something. Nobody changes that fast." I frowned, unease growing. "You think she's lying?" Clara shrugged. "Just watch your back." After the kids left with Sarah, I found a note in Lily's backpack, tucked in her drawing of a house. "Grandma, Daddy says we need your help or we'll be gone." My heart stopped, the childish scrawl hitting like a punch. Was this Michael's doing, using Lily to guilt me? I called him, my hands shaking. "Michael, did you tell Lily to write a note begging for help?" I asked, my voice sharp. He sounded shocked. "What? No, Mom, I'd never do that." But his voice faltered, and I wasn't sure. "Then who did?" I demanded. He was quiet, then said, "I'll talk to Sarah. I'm sorry." We hung up, and I sat, the note in my hand, feeling betrayed again. I wrote in my journal, "They're using the kids now. I won't let them break me." The next day, a stranger knocked, a man in a suit, holding papers. "Mrs. Carter, I'm from the bank. We need to discuss your property. There's been an inquiry about its value." My blood ran cold, and I knew, somehow, this was tied to Michael and Sarah, a twist I never saw coming. The bank man's words rang in my ears as I stood at the door, papers in his hand, asking about my house's value. My heart pounded, anger and fear swirling like a winter storm. I saw Michael's face, Sarah's tears, Lily's note, all pieces of a puzzle that screamed betrayal. "Who sent you?" I asked, my voice sharp, gripping the doorframe. The man, young with a nervous smile, shuffled his feet. Ma'am, I can't say, just following orders. Can we talk inside? I shook my head firm. No. This is my home. Nobody's touching it. Tell whoever sent you I'm not selling. He nodded, backing away, and drove off, leaving dust in the air. I shut the door, my hands shaking, and leaned against it, muffin weaving around my legs. The house, my sanctuary, felt like a target now. I called Ellen, my lawyer, my voice tight. Someone's asking about my house's value, I said. Can they do anything without me? Ellen's voice was calm, steady. No, Evelyn. Your trust protects you. The house, your money, it's locked. Want me to check who's behind this? I nodded, forgetting she couldn't see. Yes, please. She promised to call back, and I hung up, feeling a spark of control. I went to the kitchen, Noah's card and Lily's note on the table, their innocence caught in this mess. I opened my journal, the pages full of pain, and wrote, they tried to take my home. But I'm not giving up. I'm fighting for me. The words felt like a vow, strong and clear. That afternoon, Clara came over, her eyes wide when I told her about the bank man. They're bold, she said, pouring tea. You need to confront them, Evelyn. No more waiting. I nodded, her strength fueling mine. I will. Tomorrow. She squeezed my hand. You're tougher than you look. I smiled, small but real, and felt it deep down. The next morning, I called Michael, my voice steady. We need to talk now. You and Sarah, at my house today. He hesitated. Mom, I'm swamped. I cut him off. No excuses. Be here by noon. He agreed, and I hung up, my heart racing but resolute. I baked cookies, the smell filling the house with warmth, not for them, but for me, a reminder of who I was. When they arrived, Lily and Noah ran in, hugging me tight. I sent them to the backyard with crayons, their laughter drifting through the window. Michael and Sarah sat on the couch, tense, Sarah's eyes red, Michael's hands fidgeting. What's this about, Mom? He asked, voice low. I stood, arms crossed, looking at them. Someone's digging into my house, asking the bank about its value. Was it you? Their faces froze, Sarah looking at Michael, his jaw tight. No, he said, too quick. I told you, I'm done with that. Sarah bit her lip, silent. I leaned in, my voice low. Don't lie. Lily's note, Sarah's threats, the bank, it all points to you. Sarah's tears spilled, her voice shaky. It was me, she admitted, looking down. I asked a friend at the bank to check. We're desperate, Evelyn. I thought if you sold the house, we could start over. Michael's head snapped to her. You did what? Without telling me. She sobbed, covering her face. I was trying to save us. I felt anger flare, but also pity, their desperation raw. This is my home, I said, my voice steady. You don't get to decide my life. I love you, but I'm done being your way out. Michael stood, his eyes wet. Mom, I didn't know. I swear. I looked at him, searching for truth, and saw regret. Maybe real. Then prove it, I said. Fix your life, don't break mine. Sarah stood, reaching for me. Please, Evelyn, don't cut us off. The kids need you. I stepped back firm. I'm not cutting them off. You can visit, but no more games. Respect me or you're out. They nodded, quiet, and left, the kids waving sadly from the car. I felt a pang but also power, like I'd reclaimed something lost. That evening Ruth came by, her hug warm. You stood your ground, she said, proud. I told her about the confrontation, my new will. I'm giving most of my money to charity, I said. The kids get a little, but it's for their future, not now. I also joined the church choir, started volunteering. I'm living for me. She smiled, tears in my eyes. That's empowerment, Evelyn. You're a light. I felt it, bright and true. The next day, Ellen called. It was Sarah through a third party. No legal moves left for them. You're safe. Relief washed over me like rain. I hung up, went to the garden, the earth cool, and planted a new rose, a symbol of my strength. That night, I got a call from Lily. Grandma, are we okay? She asked, her voice small. We're okay, sweetie, I said, smiling. I love you. I hung up, my journal open, and wrote. I lied to protect my heart, and learned my worth isn't in money, but in love I choose for myself. I'm free. The moral lesson was clear. Your value isn't what you give, but who you are. Choose yourself first and true love follows. Asterisk asterisk I closed the book, muffin purring, and felt peace, knowing I'd won my life back.